Welcome. The Getaway. A gritty, dark, British gangster thriller, and one of the best to do the job. This game offers, perhaps still to this very day, the best representation of London. Yes, Watch Dogs Legion is a much prettier version because it's 2 console generations in the future, but it has a sci-fi twist, which, as far as I know, London hasn't quite turned into yet, whereas this is more accurate, at least to the time when it was made. It was released in 2002, however was planned to be released as a launch title for the PlayStation 2 in the year 2000, which would have meant it came out before GTA 3, which came out in 2001. A little bit of irony there, considering this falls into the trap of being called a GTA clone, but I promise you faithfully, it is most certainly far more than that. The story is inspired by British gangster films such as Snatch and Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. If you've seen and enjoyed any of those films or ones like it, you'll love this game. It takes place over a single day and is split between 2 characters. We're seeing the beginning opening scenes here because the story is told largely through cutscenes, quite commonplace with video games even now. The story takes place over a single day, and we go between 2 playable characters. We begin as Mark Hammond, an ex-bank robber trying to go straight for the sake of his wife and child. But as you can see here, which is the opening scene of the game, so it's not really a big spoiler, his wife, well, she bites the bullet, and his child is kidnapped. The person who has got his child hostage is the head of one of the local gangs, and he's using him to force Mark to do his bidding. You reluctantly take on these jobs, as all you want is your child back safely with you, and it does lead to some really good fun gameplay, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The other character which we take control of is Frank Carter. He's a policeman, but not just any policeman. He's a member of the Serious Organised Crime Command, also known as the Flying Squad, and in London referred to often as the Sweeney.
Who are you?
We're the Sweeney, son, and we haven't had any dinner.
Very likely, only Brits of a certain age will recognise that clip from a TV series quite old now. But anyway, I can't go into the detail of Frank Carter's story because it will then spoil a large part of Mark's, and I don't want to give you any spoilers. The story in this game is a real driving force to keep you playing, which is good because it does have some serious difficulty spikes. Or maybe I'm just not that great at games. Gameplay wise, there's 2 elements. There's the driving side of things in the open world. This is the standard fare of going between missions, and there's also car chases as well and stuff like that, which is actually really good fun. I do like the representation of cars of the time this was made. So the car now, and it looks like it's even got the correct badge on it, is meant to be an Alfa Romeo 156. I actually owned a couple of these, really unreliable. Not relevant, but thought I'd share. And if you like your cars and you know them from this time, it's quite a joy to go around and see them. It's just one aspect which shows the detail that was put into the game and to its world. Now, I don't know the city well enough to tell you if this is a true representation of it or not, but all the reviews and everything out there seems to say that it's a really good representation, so I'm just going to trust them. As you go through the world, driving around, you get to see things which are standard fare in the city, like the black cabs and the grey skies, because let's face it, it's England, it rains most of the time here, and even the red phone boxes. I'm just thankful that they didn't include the London traffic, otherwise it'd take you an hour to go 4 miles, where you were mainly bumper to bumper, and that just wouldn't make a good game. Plus nowadays they'd have to introduce some sort of mini-game to play the clean air zone charges and the congestion charges and all the other charges, because as we all know, the only way to save the environment is to give the government as much money as possible. There's no mini-map, the way you know which way to go is by the car's indicators. As you can see here, it's flashing left, meaning takes your left turn in. This is a really clever mechanic, and it's not something I've seen in any other game series. It flashes quicker the closer you get to the turn you want to make, and then when you get to your destination, or as close as you can in your car, the hazard lights come on to show you there. I really like this. I wish that other games had implemented it. I think it's just really clever. Once you get to where you need to be, and you go out on foot, you've got standard fare of a cover shooter. Bearing in mind, again, this is a 2002 game. I think it's done quite well. There's no HUD or heads-up display. I'm guessing that's there for the immersion more than anything else. There is a button that allows you to lock on to your nearest target, which I do recommend using. It's not perfect, but it does make playing the game that little bit easier. Although, as you've just seen there, you can also free aim as well, which is handy when you see red barrels. Because as we all know, in video games, red barrel equals explosions. You can pick up weapons from the bad guys that you slay. Single-handed weapons such as pistols can be dual-wielded to give you an extra advantage. And you've got the double-handed weapons such as shotguns, which of course you can only use one of at a time. If you look here at the detail, this is meant to be some sort of warehouse, and they've actually put recognisable British things in there. Or at least for the most part. Obviously it's a little bit blurry and things, again, limitations of the time. But you can quite clearly see, for example here, you've got some of the different beer brands, and I can recognise Stella, I can recognise Foster's. It's just a nice little detail that I thought I'd point out that shows how much care and attention was put into the game. Something that does add to the difficulty, and does take some getting used to, is the fact there is no freely controlled camera. It's probably the only thing that I could complain about with this game. Everything else I can accept for just, you know, it's a 2002 game. And whilst the fact there's no free roaming camera you could put down to that, I'm used to it, and I dare say a lot of you are as well. So it really does take some getting used to. You will get used to it, however, it just takes that little bit of patience. And the payoff of getting to play this awesome game is well worth putting up with just that little bit of a learning curve. As you can see, there's no life bar or anything like that. When you get shot, you'll notice that your movements change and that your clothes have blood marks on them. As you can see here, leaning against something is how you heal. It means you have to find somewhere safe from the action to do it. I really like this mechanic. I think it's another really clever mechanic. It's not something I've seen in other games, not precisely anyway. Obviously there's plenty out there where you self-heal over time if you can escape getting shot, but you don't have to actually do anything other than take cover. It's another nice little detail into what is actually a really well put together, well thought out, detailed game. I'm very, very impressed by this whenever I play it. I truly am. I don't know much about the development of it at all, but I'd like to think it was a labour of love, because the amount of work and effort that's gone into it can't have been easy. But it really has paid off into a really stupendous experience. As I said at the beginning, this is not a wacky GTA clone. It is a dark, gritty crime thriller. In fact, a little bit of trivia for you. In Australia, the game was banned because of a detailed tortured scene. So they had to censor that scene and then issue it afterwards with the censored version. The Getaway was a success, and it did spawn a sequel, The Getaway Black Monday, which is a bit more of an imaginative title than simply The Getaway 2. Now, apparently, I only found this out when I was making this video and I was doing a bit of research, there was a third entry in the franchise planned for the PlayStation 3, but it never came to fruition, and I'm not sure why. I would assume it's something to do with money. Money seems to rule everything, doesn't it? And that's such a shame. Maybe, perhaps we'll get a remake. We are in the era of remakes, and seeing this made for modern hardware, especially considering that this is the 6th gen and we're now on the 9th gen, would be really interesting to me. But let me know your thoughts. Have you played this game? Do you now want to play it if you haven't? And do you agree with me? Do you think it's as good as I say? Always interested to hear from you. And until next time, I think that'll do me. I'll see you soon. Ta-da for now.